Hi everyone, thanks to be here for the webinar of echoing la RSO en action. Today we will see the sustainability in European project. So I will show you my PowerPoint. Please tell me if you saw it in large screen. Oh, is it okay?
Yes, thank you.
The idea of this webinar is to talk about how to increase the sustainability in European projects. So feel free to ask any question, to cut me or ask question in the chat, but you can ask in the voice. Please feel free to cut me. So today, I want to see with you 4 points. So what is at stake and why this topic is important. Then I will show you a quick presentation of the sustainability toolkit that I have created for European project inside Afeji. So we will show it. Then some recommendation to integrate fully the sustainability in European project. And then I want to share with you some other resources and green practices that are available online, especially some European projects that are already made and produce some results on how to have green practices in a European project. Is that okay for you, or do you want to have all the point today?
It's good, thanks.
Okay. So what is at stake and why it is important to talk about sustainability in European project? So as you know, well, as you may know, there is a crisis about environmental issue. Global warming is a global issue that is increasing the disease, the temperature at a global level, but also the fire or like storms, so on. So we have to act, and this is also then push the government and institution to act on a political level. For example, with the UN developed the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. You may know about it. It is like 17 topics on social, environmental, and societal aspects to act for increased sustainable development. Also, there is on the European Union as the Green Deal, so that push the investment and the political legislation on in the Europe to be green, and this is a major impact on also national policy and European policy. This has also an impact on the guidelines of European agencies such as Erasmus or Interreg or so on, because they want to be aligned and has to be aligned with European Green Deal. So it is a real expectation for the agencies that the project and the project management are green or greener and innovative also on sustainability. Also, it is important to tackle this subject because the private organization commit themselves in a CSR strategy. So, for example, Afeji, as you know, or may know, is commit in a CSR strategy that put to act on sustainability regarding people, environment, or society in these activities. So it is important also to be aligned with this CSR strategy in European project. And also, it is important because European project is all about sharing and creating together and sharing knowledge or being innovative to share results and practices at a European level. And it is important to do the same on the environmental issue because a global issue as global warming needs a global answer. So it is our responsibility to act to curb carbon emission and to act for the environment. Is it okay for you? Okay. So then I will share with you the sustainability toolkit created by Afeji to act on this issue. So the goals of this toolkit is to first integrating green practices and sustainability issue into the project or any project and as a criterion of quality management. Also, committing the whole consortium in sustainability. So make sure that even a company or an organization that hasn't a CSR strategy can act and participate to this global effort. Also, it is a way of thinking, sharing, and improving practices, green practices between participants, making link and improving as a consortium and participating of the global transition. So then we will see the composition of the toolkit point by point, but there is three elements. So the sustainability charter, the mobility carbon calculator, and also a questionnaire we'll see what it is about. So I will stop the sharing and then I will show every part of this. Hop. So first, I will show you the sustainability charter. So, hop. Tell me if you see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. The idea of the sustainability charter is to make every partner organization of a consortium to sign and ratify this charter, to commit to certain elements. The idea is not to be very ambitious on this charter, but to make sure that everyone is involved in sustainability. It is very important because that will also be integrated inside the project management and also in quality assessment. So I will read this with you. So aware of our responsibility towards environmental and climatic issues, we commit ourselves to through this charter to put sustainability in the heart of our project. So you put the name of the project. During this project, I commit myself to the integration of eco-responsible criteria in the evaluation of the quality of the project, to promote sustainable processes and alternatives during the realization of the project on mobility, transport, or food. For example, you can have like alternative with meat or like with plane and so on. So you have to commit yourself on that. Calculate and transmit my carbon footprint during mobility using the calculator that we will see then. Participate in feedback and sharing of good environmental practices. Produce a review on the whole eco-responsible approach at the end of the project. So the idea is that this charter is sent and signed by every partner organization at the beginning of the project, right after the application form and the agreement of the agency is done. And it is also important to mention that this on the application form because it is, as we mentioned before, it is an expectation from the agency. So yeah, so this is like the global commitment. Are there any questions? Have you some question about this? You can use the chat if you want. So there is a question. So what happens if a partner that signed the sustainability charter but does not respect one point? So the idea is to commit like to be, there is no punition, I think, except if it is on application form. So the application form engage you to do this by the agency. But the idea is to be on a voluntary process and to want real intention to act. These commitments are not that difficult to achieve. It is more about thinking about my practices and what I'm doing, that and not about strict rules and commitments. Thanks. So we can also see then the questionnaire. So I will share with you my screen also. Oh. So the questionnaire is, do you see my screen?
Yes.
So the questionnaire is, it is a proposition of questionnaire, also the proposition of charter, but it is what we want to do in Afeji. So on the charter, there is a point on being aware of alternative and integrating quality and so on and so on. So the questionnaire is the way to collect this data. The idea is that at every mobility, a questionnaire like this is done to evaluate and assess the green practices on the mobility. So first question is, how would you evaluate the consideration of sustainability topics by the organizer during this mobility? So about vegetarian alternative, on-site mobility, waste production and selective sorting, communication on green practices. So communication on green practices, it is more about informal sharing of look, I have like solar panels, or I'm doing these practices. Maybe you can think about it also, or you know, together we are much smarter. So it is really important to make link between us. So you can say none, medium, good, excellent. The idea is not to be the idea is to be honest, as there is no goals, I think, maybe on the quality of the project, but you know, the idea is to improve themselves and to think about it, that the next time we will improve. So second question, what was your transportation related carbon footprint during this mobility? Use the calculator. So we'll see the calculator then. So the idea is using the calculator, the footprint calculator, carbon footprint calculator, is to evaluate the emission of carbon that is linked to the mobility. So the way I went to the other country, for example, or I move, but also the mobility on site, c'est-à-dire where discovering a new site or moving to do meeting or so on. So the idea is it is very easy to use calculator, and the idea is to have like a number, and then we can have an idea of the carbon footprint linked to the mobility of the project by aggregating every number, you know, because every participant has to rate this questionnaire, you know, or every organization or partner organization. You have to see regarding the consortium you have. So the idea is to have like one questionnaire by person. It is the best. So third question, what was your main emission item? Do you think it is possible to reduce it? So the calculator of the carbon footprint is also on not only on mobility like transportation, but also on food, on waste and so on, you see. And the idea is to tell us what is your main item, and to share also idea to if it was possible to reduce it. Maybe it's not possible to reduce it, but sometimes you can. So it is important to have this thinking. During your mobility, were you able to observe any good environmental practices in place? Which one? So same. The idea is to see what is good in place, to share and to be able to think about it, and maybe sharing also this within your own organization with people who were not there in the mobility. 5, have you identified areas of improvement in this area? Which one? So the idea is also to see what can be improved and to share with the organizer. Yeah, well, maybe there isn't like a vegetarian alternative on this in this restaurant. I would like to have another restaurant or so on, like small ideas, but not everyone can. It is important to have a collective intelligence to improve this. It can also be adapted, you know, regarding the specificity of mobility. The idea is to be very simple, like 5 minutes max. It has to be done because the idea is not to be hard to do, but to engage and mobilize people on this. And everyone has to be mobilized, as we see, because it is a global issue. So everyone has to act. So the idea is to think together and to have this. This has to be collected by the quality manager of the project. And because it is, I suggest that one item of the quality assessment is having a questionnaire done at every mobility. So it is a role to have this. I don't know, while signing a paper that I was there, everyone has to do this. But also it can be adapted, you know, the idea is to make sure that people are thinking about it and being active on this topic. Finally, do you have any questions, suggestions to improve this? If you can put in on the chat if you have some question or if something is not clear. It looks like there is one question. It looks like the main emission comes from traveling by plane, as your project should be more and sustainable. Is transnational meeting and trainings will disappear in the future if the only traveling method is flying? Good question, and we will see that there is alternatives and some way to avoid or limit the use of plane. But the use of plane is likely the most emissive topic, but it depends on your project. You know, if you are feeding like 2,000 people or 200 people for a long time with meat and so on, it can also be very emissive. And if you act in an interreg, for example, with a consortium with very close to you, you can move by train and so on. So transportation is not always the most emissive way, most emissive topic, but it is important. It can be if you are not taking into account the carbon footprint while designing the project. So we'll see it is the next slide afterwards. Good question to the person that said Sabrina. Okay, so let's move on the calculator. Don't be afraid, it is not that complicated. The idea is to make it very clear and simple that in order to everyone can use it and understand it. So I will share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So it is only about transportation. And as you see, there is two items: transportation back and forth. So how you went to the destination, and then there is transportation on site. So if I went, for example, from Lille to Rome, I went maybe by plane. So I did like 1,500 kilometers back and forth, so 3,000. So up like this. My carbon footprint for this is 600 kilo of CO2. But I could have taken like a car, maybe to went to the station in Paris, I don't know, alone. So 200 kilometers back and forth, so 40. And then I took the train, so back and forth, like that. So this is my the carbon footprint. So you see, you can have the total here, the global total, and then on site, I went to Rome, but we move around, and I was in car sharing, but we did like approximately in minutes. You see, because it is much difficult to know the kilometers and so on. So I think 2 hours of car while I was there. So 120 minutes. And then also we took the subway, like also 1 hour. So this, and this add to the global, You see, it is very simple. You can write and so on. And then this is the number that you have to put on the questionnaire. If you remember, there is a question, your carbon footprint. If you want to see what is equivalent of, because it is a number, so the idea is to sensibilize on this, you can see that this number of carbon is the equivalent of 390 vegetarian meal or 28 meal with beef. It is also like the carbon footprint of the creation of one washing machine, 0.4, but also 33 t-shirt, like 6.5 smartphone, and so on. So it is to have equivalent that are visual, you know, because it can be difficult to see what is related to. Do you have question with it? Or is it clear?
Very clear.
Okay. So let's move on. If you have questions, do not hesitate to cut me. Up. There is questions. How can we know if our footprint number is too high? Good question. There is like every action we made have an impact. To give you like some numbers, the average of a French person is to emit on 1 year 10,000 kilo, so 10 tons of carbon. So as we see, for example, weight doing 3,000 kilometers to Rome in a plane, it was, I think, 600 kilos. So it is like 5% of the emission of a French person. The goal to act and to have like a reduction, because being like a French person with emitting, you are contributing to global warming a lot. And the goal for a French person to be on Paris Agreement to limit the global warming to 2 degrees is 2 tons, so 2,000. So if you are doing like Lille-Rome 3,000 kilometers in plane, 600 kilos, it is like 1/4 of what we have to do as emission in 2050 to be aligned with Paris Agreement. So it is a lot, but it is also a great way to act and to limit our carbon footprint and to act to preserve the environment. There is no rules number too high, but yeah, nowadays in 2024, no one can be at 2 tons CO2, kilo of CO2, 2 tons of CO2 in a person, because our society are not ready and not low carbon, but you can be much lower than 10 tons. And also in our professional life, we can also limit our carbon footprint. And we'll see then also how it is possible to act. So the idea is on the mobility to improve, and the calculator is good because you can also use it before your mobility to see what is the more emission. You know, if I take the plane, it is this much. If I take the car, it is this much. If I take the train, it is this much. And you can also choose by playing with the calculator. I hope this answer to the question. And also, so I will send you the PowerPoint. There is also other example of charter. made by the Fédération Régionale des MFR Nouvelle-Aquitaine. So it is also an inspiration of what can be done. And there is a real opportunity in mobility. It is to limit the transportation, the displacement. There is like hybrid mobility that existing, and also so virtual, so using visio as we do today, but also hybrid mobility. So not everyone has to be in person on site. Some people are interesting for one meeting on the TPM or on the mobility. So it is interesting that they are in virtual, in Zoom or in Teams also. There are also the possibility of thinking otherwise mobility. I will see this afterwards. So you will look afterwards. So the charter and the toolkit is good practices, but it is not enough to really act. It is the first step to real action, but the real recommendation is to integrate fully the sustainability in the project management and in the project himself. So the toolkit is a must to commit the full consortium, but we can go much further to work on green European project. So first of all, you have to design a green project. In fact, even if we have green practices in our project, if my project is about finding oil or destroying forest, I'm not sure that the agencies will agree, but it is a real responsibility to choose and design the project and choose the topic of the project wisely to be aligned with what can be the world like 20, 30, 50 years from now, because we are participating to the future and to the creation of a sustainable society. Second recommendation, it is important to integrate sustainability inside the application form. In fact, green practices can be and has to be anticipated because you have to do the activity differently. You have to think that when you are moving, you are moving not for nothing, but with a real. You have to move because you have to be in physically, and sometimes there is possibility to I don't know being mutualized or so on, and you have to integrate the charter in the application form that in a way that people are and partner organization are also commit, and not only making fully integration of the sustainability. And then sustainability is also about limiting the mobility of people, not entirely, but thinking the mobility as a low carbon mobility, and as a low carbon project. So we talk about hybrid mobility. We talk about restraining inside the application. So like there is also the possibility of in the application form to limit the TPM physically at some crucial point, but not at every TPM, for example. Also, you can also put in the application form mutualizing meeting, like a training right next a TPM. So when you are moving for not only for one item or one activity, you can move for a lot of time, and not being like back and forth. You can use Visio, and also use green mobility. I will talk about it afterwards, because the agencies are granting a different compensation, monetary compensation, if you are using classic mobility or green mobility. And it can be also an opportunity of taking a lot, maybe sometimes some more time, but taking the train and not the plane, or so on. And I will ask you if you have some idea to be like a green European project. What can be done? I would like to have your idea, because as I tell you, we are smarter together. So you can you can talk, or maybe do on the chat. Yes, we can choose a vegetarian restaurant for a social meeting. It is also like a good practices, and you can um, you can make sure that there is alternative, but you can also invite people in a social meeting inside a vegetarian restaurant that provide only vegetarian restaurant, only vegetarian meal, because it can also curb the carbon footprint, Other idea? Okay. So on this table, we can see, I'm not sure it is on the actual, the current table, but it is also good to see. You can see the grant for green travel support and for travel support standard. So we can see that there is much more, not much more, but some more money that is granted to move per participant if you take green mobility. So it can also be again a criteria when choosing how I will be moving and so on. And also in train, you can work and being available for call and mailing. So it can be also a smart way to convince your organization. So, okay. Finally, I wanted to show you other resources. So first, the project. So it is always Erasmus project that are thinking about responsible way to do things. So the first one I wanted to share with you, it is a French piloted European project, but with an European consortium. It is Become. So it is learn how to communicate more responsibly. It is very important because there is a lot of websites that are created, a lot of kakemono, a lot of brochure, a lot of tote bag and so on. And it is important to have responsible practices while communicating, because it has an impact also on carbon. So maybe it is not necessary to have a tote bag, a brochure, kakemono every time. Maybe you can put it in the application form and justify it by using Become also. Then there is a project Think Twice that is specifically on ecological sustainability in European project. It is an Erasmus Plus. There is a lot of results, a lot of practices that are there. And I suggest to you that you see this and to maybe have some idea. Also, the Erasmus, and it is Think Twice is very about project management. So it is very about coordinating and writing application form and having practices, And then Erasmus Goes Green it is about lowering the impact that Erasmus Plus program has on the environment. So there is a lot of report and policy and guidelines and so on. It is much more complex. Maybe it is not a tool as become for communication or think twice for project management, but there is a lot of data. And for example, the table of mobility, I find it there. So it can be very interesting. So if you don't, do you have question? Because it is the end of my presentation. Do you have something to share with us? Okay. Thanks for your participation, and I hope it helps you in your working life. And see ya.
Thank you, Gabriel. Bye.